Welcome back, everybody. So this is one of my favorite episodes to do right here. I have been thinking about this since last summer, and that is planting my summer garden. So it seems like every time I get done with the garden, I'm kind of relieved because they are a lot of work, but then I start itching and wish I had another garden. So that's what it's about today. We're about to jump in the tractor, go grab some compost from a compost pile I've been making. We're going to top these beds off. We're going to get to planting. I'm going to show you several different things that I'm planting, why I'm doing it, and some things I'm going to do a little differently this year than from what I did in the years past. Thanks for watching. All right, so we are down at the wood yard, and here is my compost pile I've been working on the last year. And believe it or not, it was 2 to 3 times this size when I first started it. It's broke down this much. Now, I messed up and did something I shouldn't have. I just was not thinking. This compost pile was ready. And about a month and a half ago, for some reason, I took some of these piles of shavings that I have from cutting firewood, and I put them in here. I don't know what I was thinking. Of course, it's not going to break down that quick. These piles of shavings are what I need to put in my new compost pile. So I'm going to have to dig clumps out of here because I need some of this. But when you look at this pile, it doesn't look amazing. But when you dig in it, it's pretty nice. Check this out. Just beautiful looking compost. Nice and damp, broke down nicely, and believe it or not, the majority of this pile was nothing but wood chips out of our wood chipper. So what y'all been watching us do here lately, I brought piles and piles of wood chips down here whenever I was cleaning up the trails that I made out in the woods and let them break down. Now keep in mind, those wood chips had a lot of leaves and other green stuff mixed in, so I was getting carbon and nitrogen, and I've come down here and put garden vegetables and scraps of stuff in last year, so I've added a little bit of stuff to it. But it's nice, dark, and rich. Is it any good? I don't know. We're about to go top some beds off though and find out. It sure looks pretty. They've only been broken down 1 year and to have started out as wood chips. So we're gonna clean some stuff up here so I can get the tractor in, get a couple buckets full. And like I said, a lot of these shavings I'm gonna kind of pick out, because I just don't want that much carbon in there. That could take away, from some of the vegetables. But we're experimenting, we're learning. This is my first compost pile I ever made. I am no expert. So let's see if we can top off the beds with it, see what happens. All right, so I apologize for all the wind. Hopefully you can hear me. I've got my little windsock on. So the first thing I'm going to plant is probably the main reason I even grow a garden. Silver Queen sweet corn. It is my favorite garden vegetable, bar none. This corn tastes 10 times better than anything I have ever found in the grocery store. So we're going to do some rows real tight. I discovered last year, being it's only my second year ever doing just raised bed gardening, I discovered you can plant them so much tighter than you can whenever you do traditional in the ground, which is what I've always done since I was a child. So I'm gonna make some furrows with a garden hoe right here. We're gonna drop some of this Silver Queen seed in, and fingers crossed it grows. Let's get started. All right, so while we're on the corn, let's talk about what I did. As y'all can see, I have the seeds really tight. I have found that I much prefer to go ahead and put way too many seeds in, and whenever the plants come up, then I'll come in and hand thin those out. That way I know for sure I've got plenty of plants coming up. Just doing one seed at a time, sometimes seeds don't germinate and you're left with spots you have to fill in later. This route right here typically has me doing no replanting. Now you can tell I've got my furrows somewhat close, but I like to space them out this direction because corn has a shallow root system and it's a tall plant. It does require healing up later, so I like to be able to pull dirt from the centers of these rows and heal up the corn. Now as far as spacing this direction goes, I'm going to go very tight this year, maybe 4, maximum 6 inches. I did about 6 last year, and because this compost is so rich, it grew just fine. I was actually amazed on how much corn that I got out of here. I planted my corn over there last year. I do like to rotate my corn every year when I can, so I'll keep bouncing beds back and forth through next year's. Just feel like it really helps them grow. There's different types of nutrients in, although adding another layer of compost, probably don't have to do that. Now, speaking of corn and all this wind and the way it likes to blow over, you can see that I have T-post here. What I did last year was ran wire across because my corn just kept blowing over in all these aggravating afternoon thunderstorms that we get. What I think I'm going to try this year, I've had a lot of people talk to me about that, is purchase some more of these real thick cattle panels right here. They make great trellises, and I'm going to bring those T-posts over just like you see me do over here, stake them in the corner, and I'm going to lay those cattle panels this direction up about a foot. So as the corn grows, I'm going to weave them through these squares, and they'll always have support from getting blown over. I'm thinking 1 foot to 2 foot in the air should be perfect to give them support for the rest of their growing. So that's something we'll have coming up here before long. Still got to go purchase some more of those cattle panels, and there's no point in putting them up just yet until this corn really gets, you know, 1 foot or 2 tall. So let's get these covered up. I tend to cover my corn seed up maybe about 1 inch. I'll cover them up close to 2 inches because this compost is so loose and fluffy. But by the time you water it and it packs, those seeds are not even really 1 inch beneath the surface. I like to take this same old thin garden hoe. You just can't find them like this anymore. I love these thin ones just for doing this and making my furrows. And just pull dirt right over top. Now, another favorite vegetable that we love growing in the garden is okra. So we tend to do a pretty big bed, and we discovered last year a bed about this size will grow more okra than we could have ever imagined. We filled up bin after bin after bin in the freezer. We canned over like 50 cans of pickled okra, gave piles of it away, and then finally I just said, to heck with it, I'm done getting this stuff. There was at one point in time, I think I got like 5 gallons in one day off of a bed this size, and it was quite common that I was getting 2.5 gallons of okra a day whenever it was in peak. That's an insane amount of okra on a little old bed just like this. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me, do I soak my okra? Do I put it in the refrigerator? No, I don't do nothing. I bring it back straight from the seed store, just like this, put it in the ground. The only seed that I do something special with is beans. We'll tell you about that in just a minute. Now, when it comes to okra, it's a small seed, so typically I don't want to plant it more than about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch deep. And actually, I may have made some of these furrows a little too deep. We're going to cover it up, fingers crossed it comes up okay. Okra is a late summer, sun-loving crop, so if I have a lot of missing spots here, it's no problem to kind of plant some a little late, and it'll still come up and grow all summer long. All right, last year in these little 4x4 square boxes, I did a bunch of peppers, but I actually have another garden bed that we'll do in another episode that we need to clean up, where I typically do my peppers. So this year I decided these little 4x4s would probably be awesome for some bush beans, and I think I'm gonna do them in another spot in the garden too. Now, last year I absolutely struggled with beans, planted them 4 times, all different depths, tried soaking them, not soaking them, everything I could think of. I just couldn't get them to work. I don't know if the soil was just, you know, too high in nitrogen or what last year. Finally, out of desperation, on the last few seeds I had, I barely stuck them in the ground. I'm talking to where they were almost exposed. Lo and behold, those actually grew. So we're gonna try very shallow planting this year to see if that'll help. Now, beans is the one thing that I will do something with. I stuck all these in a cup last night, filled it full of water, and allowed them to soak. So they have swole up, rehydrated. A lot of people recommend doing that. It says it gives them a good jump start. So that's what I've done. So we're gonna do some beans right here in these little 4x4s, and we're gonna move to another bed where I'm gonna mix the beans in with another crop. All right, so in this bed right here, because we love sweet corn so much, I'm gonna put a few more rows, although I probably won't support this one. And in between those rows, I'm gonna put some of these bush beans in there because we love those as well. And I've always heard beans complement corn very well. I guess it's because beans are nitrogen fixing, corn is nitrogen loving. So we're experimenting, we're still figuring this out. Like I said, I've always been traditional in the ground, playing with the raised beds, you know, trying to experiment and figure things out. That's half the fun to me. So let's mix some beans and corn in this one. Now in this bed, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did last year, and that's put some cantaloupes in here. I almost did a traditional in the ground garden this year because I wanna do some cantaloupes, watermelons, cucumbers, things that need to vine out and grow. Problem is I just don't have the time. That's gonna have to be a next year project. But last year, the cantaloupes did amazingly well in this compost. I'm talking I put, I think 5 plants here and a couple over there, and had probably 30 to 40 cantaloupes. But a problem happened. Something, something came along. Of course, just about the time they were all ripe and ready, we got a severe tropical storm. We got 17 inches of rain in 1 week. It flooded this garden out, rotted all my cantaloupes, rotted my potatoes, everything last year. It was just horrible timing on the rain. So I want to try again this year. Like I said, next year I think we're going to move outside the fence for our vine crops. So I'm only going to put 4 to 5 plants right here because they need a lot of room to vine and grow out. You don't want to put many. And I'll put 2 to 3 seeds in each spot, thin them out as they come up like I do everything else. Now I'm going to try something new that I have never tried before, and that's getting cantaloupes to grow on a trellis. A lot of people have recommended it. I feel like they'd be too heavy and pull off. So I'm going to do some cantaloupes here. On the other side of this trellis, I'm going to do some cucumbers. Tiffany likes cucumbers. They just don't like her. A lot of people understand that. So I don't need many. There's just every now and then I get to where I crave them and I'd like some. So I think a little bit of cucumbers over here, a little bit of cantaloupes right here to kind of top off what that bed can't produce. Should be plenty for both of those types of vegetables. Now I couldn't for the life of me last year get cucumbers to grow. First time in my life I've ever had that problem. I've always grown in the ground, in dirt, never had a problem getting cucumbers to grow. But last year in this compost, couldn't get them to come up to save my life. And I'm really wondering if it's because when I bought this compost last year, it still had almost some fresh manure in it. It was extremely hot as far as high nitrogen. I think it was burning everything up, honestly. Things like corn that love nitrogen did very well. The okra did well, but there was quite a few crops that actually burnt the leaves, and some things I just couldn't get to germinate. So I was really wondering if that's the problem. So this compost right here that I made does not have manure in it. It's a lot more tame, should have less nitrogen. So I'm curious to see if I can get some cucumbers to grow this year. All right, now the last 2 vegetables that I typically do every year in the garden is squash and zucchini. We love them, absolutely love them. I'll do an entire bed of those. So I tend to do straight neck squash. Crooked neck tastes just fine, but I kind of prefer straight neck. And like I said, zucchini, that'll finish out the garden inside. Like I said, we'll have another episode coming up to where I'll get peppers. Been really struggling to find peppers this year. That's one reason I want to get a high tunnel or greenhouse down the road so I can start my seeds early in winter. But due to COVID last year and even this year, I'm struggling to find all the seeds that I need. I'm having to make substitutions that I've never had to make before. And a lot of these seed stores are telling me it's due to COVID. A lot of people find an interest in gardening now, and they're selling out of stuff. The bad winter that we just had too, the ice, everything out in Texas, all the snow there apparently has made some impact on a lot of stuff that we get too. So it's very interesting times. Okay, so we are done with this stage of planting. So we'll just do a quick recap. As far as out here in the garden goes, really hard to tell on camera. We have some blueberry bushes here that are actually starting to bloom out. That's nice. They got hit pretty hard by frost this year. I see a little bit of dead limbs there, but I'm seeing a lot of greenery and blooms coming out. We will be planting some more grapevines here before long to hang on that trellis. And this bed is a mixture of Bush Lake bush beans and Silver Queen sweet corn. They're staggered every other row, so hopefully they'll support each other if they grow about the same time as far as all this wind goes, because I struggle with that every year with corn. And yes, I know corn does better in the ground without a doubt, but this is what I have right now. And I was very successful with corn last year. I mean, very successful for as small as this garden is. So over here we have some cantaloupes. I want to try again because they did so good last year. Again, I just lost the majority of them to a pile of rain and a tropical storm. Over here is squash and zucchini, the entire bed. That'll produce far more than we ever need. Over here in this one, I've got a few more cantaloupes. I'm going to try to get them to grow on a trellis. Over here is some cucumbers. That'd be plenty since I'm mainly the only one that eats them. Out here, you know, on another episode, we did some new potatoes. So hopefully in a few days, we'll see some sprout there, but they're kind of slow growers. Moving along over here, we have more Silver Queen sweet corn just in that entire bed. And what I failed to mention to y'all is I will actually do a second planting. If these come up successful, by the time I've harvested them, we're fortunate here in Florida, I can do a second planting of sweet corn kind of middle of summer, and it looks like it makes it by fall. So I'm glad I'm getting a good jump on that this year. In these two beds right here, I stuck some more of those bush beans. If we can get 3 rows to come up in here and fill out nicely, that'll be a good amount of beans, a lot more than you realize. And then the final bed over here, we have okra, crimson spineless okra. We absolutely love okra. Sauteing it, frying it, and pickled okra is definitely one of our favorites. So to give y'all heads up and kind of a forward look of what's coming up, we'll pull up some of these T-posts, stick them over there. Like I said, we're going to grab some of these hog panels right here that I'm using as trellises and flip them this direction to start supporting the corn once it comes up. We have another little 4x12 garden bed over here. Actually, it might be 4x16. And we'll clean it out on another episode, add some compost to it, and I will fill it slap full of peppers. It'll provide plenty of peppers for us, especially since they go all the way into usually December down here in Florida. As y'all can see, we have quite a few citrus trees staged over there. I've got to find a spot very soon and get those planted, so that's some more planting coming up. And while I have you here, I know a lot of people are probably wondering sizes and all. I didn't go over many details today. So originally the compost that I put in these beds was a like 6-way blend that I bought locally. It's 50% chicken manure. That's why it was so high in nitrogen and burned a lot of stuff up last year. And the rest was kind of bark and mulch mixture. This year, I've already explained my compost that I topped it off with, so I'm curious to see the difference on how everything grows. And as far as these beds, they're all 4-foot spacing. These are 4x4s right here. Those are 4x12 and 4x12, making an L shape. Same here. Those are 4x12. And this one is a 4x16. And I stacked it 2 2x10s high for the potatoes to make sure there's plenty of soil. And everything else in the garden is also 2x10. So since I know it will also be asked, what type of lumber do I use? Well, this is wet Florida. Anything but pressure treat, the stuff's gonna rot. And I know a lot of people find pressure treat controversial to use in a raised bed garden. So I expect a lot of that. But I made for sure I bought the new non-arsenic treated salt cured kind. Basically, it's the new pressure treat that doesn't last at all because it doesn't have the harsh chemicals in it. It's treated with copper and a few other things there. So like I said, I know that'll be brought up on the channel. It's something I decided I felt safe enough with. We're not eating the wood itself. It seems like this new stuff is very safe and chemicals don't leach out of it, and it just doesn't have the chemicals that say ground contact posts have, the old arsenic cured stuff. So just figured I'd answer that one. As far as what else is coming up in the garden, we are going to come out here and trim these posts off before long, get the fence looking very good, and we may do a run of barbed wire. That's the reason I left a lot of these posts high, to get the fence up over 6 feet, and or we may just run regular wire and hang something that'll float from it and kind of scare the deer off, so to speak. So that is something that'll be coming up. A lot of things to do out here. Like I said, the citrus trees, just I can't even think about what all we got to do right now, but I'm really excited about this. I love gardens, and there's nothing more exciting to me than putting in the hard work, getting dirt under your fingernails, watering, putting in the time, energy, and effort, and then finally seeing those little plants pop up. And then ultimately in a few months, getting to enjoy those fresh tasting vegetables. Nothing, and I mean nothing, tastes like fresh vegetables out of the garden. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this. Next episodes will be me kind of letting you know the status of the garden. We'll be thinning out before long. That's why I didn't discuss too much on plant spacing today, because we'll have a whole episode on that once everything gets up, and I'll show you how I do my spacing for raised bed gardens. Again, I'm a weekend warrior. I'm not really teaching y'all, I'm just showing you the way that I do it. I'm all ears, open to your suggestions on how you do things. I'm still just kind of learning with the raised bed. This is all new to me. So hopefully you enjoyed it. I look forward to hearing your suggestions. Drop a comment if you have a question. We'll catch you on the next video.